Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am excited to be here once again with another amazing speaker who's going to be here to talk about criminal justice. And I can't wait to talk to her about her background and learn all the stuff that she is doing in her specific industry in addition to that. So please make sure you stay tuned and listen to this entire podcast. Also, take the time to go to all the pages and listen to all of the podcasts because you never know of the information that you would get from there. These people are here to share their incredible story and also share their industry information and to encourage you to enter their line of work. So take advantage of this unique opportunity. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast is not only to share our industry information, but we want to encourage the working professional and career seekers. I also want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors and partners, a family of authors, Butler Armstead Consulting Solutions, Human Resource Learning Center, J&F Enterprises, Women Offering Wealth, along with our other business partners for helping us make this event a success. So today we have an exciting conversation that we're going to have today, which is one of the ones that we rarely hear on any podcast, and that's about criminal justice, law enforcement, and how that relates to us as a small business and how these things affect us just going into the career in general, because so many things are changing when it comes to law enforcement, particularly now that we have a new presidential administration. There's laws that's going to be changing. And so some of those things are probably going to come up in this conversation, but we definitely want you to continue the conversation after the podcast is over. So I would like to bring to the podcast Leawana Harris. Leawana is committed to determining to help prepare for the next generation of leaders to lead effectively and maintain a strong passion of urgency to help those who are seeking purpose. She serves as a training specialist with a reputable company in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And in this position, she was employed by the Tulsa County District Community Corrections as a probation and patrol officer. And while she was there, she was awarded for her leadership by being endowed as Tulsa County's District Officer of the Year in 2011. She's also received Officer of the Quarter and Officer of the Month in the same year as well. She's an active leader in her community and often volunteers her service in various areas. And she also serves as a member of the Alpha Kappa Theta Sorority Incorporated, as well as participate on several nonprofit boards. So I want everybody to get into her bio. And Leawana, welcome to the podcast, girl.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ann.
No problem. So tell us about your history and what was your passion about law enforcement that drove you to go into that line of work?
Okay, awesome. Yes, thank you for asking. So when I was in high school, I again was born and raised here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and when I was in high school, we actually had the task of doing an internship for like a senior project. And when I did what I wanted to do, I really knew that I wanted to help people, but I didn't know in what type of aspect or arena. And so one of my girlfriends, her grandmother worked at a juvenile facility, and so I spent a month at the juvenile facility, kind of helping around and helping with some with filing and what I was in high school, so I couldn't do a whole lot. But I was helping with the filing and helping just looking at different cases and going to court sessions, and that interests me. So I knew once I graduated, I knew that criminal justice was a field that I wanted to go into because I really wanted to help people. So it was more so of the social services side of criminal justice. And that's why I chose to go into that. And so when I went to Clark, Atlanta, that was my major. That was my undergraduate degree in criminal justice.
Okay. So just for my own edification, what are some of the different areas of criminal justice, because I often get questions for people in the IT realm in particular that want to go into some form of criminal justice, or they have gotten a degree in criminal justice but they're not sure where to go. So can you kind of speak on like some of the different areas that people can go into in terms of criminal justice?
Oh, absolutely. So some of the different areas. So I guess, and it also depends on what what college you attend, because some schools it'll say criminology, some schools it'll say criminal justice, some schools it'll say criminal studies, and then there are other different areas. So those different areas that you can actually go into, you can go into social services. You can go into, depending on what the laws are within your state. You can actually go into law enforcement and be a police officer. Sometimes you can actually be a pretrial services officer, which is what my first job was right out of college. You can go into security. You can go into probation and parole. You can go into even criminal justice administration. So those are just different areas that you can flow into once you have a criminal justice degree or criminology degree or criminal studies, anything of that nature.
Okay, and so if somebody wanted to go in that field, do they have to meet a security requirement, like in terms of security clearance, or do they have to have some other type of criteria prior to going in?
Well, I'm sure it just depends on what job you're actually applying for. I'm sure if you are in any type of law enforcement, if you're dealing with any type of aspect of the court system, yes, they would probably 9 times out of 10 they will do a background check just to make sure that that you're trustworthy. I know in my position with probation and parole, we actually had to take a mental health test, and it was a series of questions that it determined whether or not we were stable enough to carry a weapon. So those are the different types of tests that you have to take, in addition to like a background check, a drug test. Of course, they call your references, and even sometimes they even do a credit check. So it just depends. And of course, you can also go into the federal realm, which those requirements are a little bit more challenging because it is the federal government.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I want to turn the question over around, kind of flip it around in terms of, because we were talking about the career seeker at first, and now I kind of want to flip it around to small businesses.
Okay.
Why should small businesses really care about criminal justice at all? We understand it. We know that there's some aspects to it in terms of law enforcement, but what part of criminal justice that correlates to small businesses so that they have a resource, or maybe there's something there that we can utilize from it?
Well, one of the challenging issues that has been ongoing, and I'm sure it is an issue that is in every state, is the fact that when inmates are released from prison and when they are released from the court system, they have a challenging time finding a job. One of the things I know that we, as when I was a probation and parole officer, we had the task of, giving them job lists and say, hey, you know what, you need to go out here and you need to, hit the pavement. You can go out here and find a job. And it was a continued challenge for inmates that may have just been released to find a job. And so one of the things that small businesses can do, and depends on the state, is that they can hire felons. And sometimes, like I said, depending on the state, different jobs and different companies and different employers can actually get a tax write-off for employing, convicted felons. So those are the reasons why they should be eager to hire, and I think it's doing something to giving back to the community. People have paid their debt. They If they've been, they've paid their time, they've done their time, and now all they want to do is take care of their families. And then, there's a lot of reasons why people actually go back into the system is because they don't have a steady job where they can take care of their families. And so
Okay.
those are the things that small businesses can definitely assist in that arena.
Okay. So, what are some of the high points of what small businesses say on why they don't want to hire felons? Because I know there's different levels. There's people who have gone in for a number of reasons. But even with the smallest fraction, infraction that they went to jail for whatever reason, just because they had a little bit of contraband or whatever, what has been the primary reason why they just didn't want to hire them? Is it just a trust factor? I mean, I'm just
I,
trying to understand what it is because let me tell you why I asked the question. I'm asking the question because what I'm trying to get people to see is that regardless of what the person did and went to jail for, unless it's like a serious mass murderer, and I understand there's tremendous trust issues there. But if it's a lot of people, because we have a lot of African Americans, we have a lot of minorities that have went to jail for the smallest infraction from just holding up some drugs or maybe have been in the wrong place, wrong time, and they didn't really do anything serious, but they still cannot, get a job anywhere. And I'm just trying to understand what their reasoning for not hiring anyone.
Well, I would say it definitely depends on the individual. That's part of it. A lot of times as someone that's a convicted felon, or that's been a part of the system, they are really going to have to sometimes prove themselves a little bit harder, and that's just the reality. I'm not saying it's right, but that is the reality. And so sometimes what we've seen is employers don't want to hire, like you said, based off of the trust issue, especially if it is something that has been, if the crime was something similar to stealing money or anything that has to do with money or anything that has to do with especially children, maybe crimes towards children. That is really a factor. Any type of violent crime, depending on the situation. And and sometimes employers don't even want to hear the situation. They just look at the crime and then they say, we don't want to hire this particular person. Another issue that I've seen too is that when they do a background check, so there's a difference between having an actual conviction and a deferred sentence. So deferred sentence is when basically they will defer your conviction for a certain amount of time before you are actually convicted. And so you are not a convicted felon while you are, trying to get yourself together. And so within a certain amount of time, the court may require you to do, some community service or some drug and alcohol counseling. And once you complete that, then your conviction will fall off. But when people see that on a criminal background check, that all they see is the fact that this person was arrested for this particular issue, and they don't see that this person is, once they finish doing everything that they can do, then this will fall off of their record. And so it could be that some employers don't even understand the system, or they don't understand the court, or they don't understand the whole law issue of the arrest system or the court system. They may not understand, and sometimes they don't even give the person a chance to explain the situation, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
that's
Which is
unfortunate. It is
it's
definitely
terrible.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think what we can do to help people who are released and having a hard time. I know that there are certain programs that the judicial system has in place to help rehabilitate. However, you're right, when they get out, they still don't have all the tools necessary to secure a job. And then the businesses don't want to give up the trust to hire people. So, and I kind of want to think of the certain resolutions, or what resolutions can we put in place that will help them prove themselves, but
Mhm.
we have to be able to give them a chance too.
Right.
um,
Right.
I don't know what program that might be out there, but maybe this is an opportunity for me, you, and the people who are listening to come up with some type of ideas to help with that, because we can't continue to allow our neighbors and our residents who are suffering with this because they made a mistake. So, okay, so they made a mistake, they did their time just like you said, but now it's time to give them a chance. Put yourself in their shoes. If you
Mhm.
were arrested and you went to jail for the smallest thing, how would you feel if you came out and no one would give you a chance? And we have to be able to start changing our mindset around that so that we can
Right.
stop having people go to the last resort, like
Right.
going back into jail or taking the next level because they're frustrated, or maybe even taking a life because they're frustrated. And all of those things go in a circle when we don't give people a chance to explain themselves. And I wanted to add that caveat to what you were saying.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are the other serious issues that you saw in your experience as a parole officer when it came to criminal justice, law enforcement policies, guidelines, or even just the inmates themselves?
Well, one of the things that when we're talking about programs, I'm not sure if you know or not, but Oklahoma is the state that incarcerates more women in the nation. Um, so
Wow.
that's an issue definitely here in Oklahoma, and we have been number one for I know at least the past over 10 years.
Why? Well,
And
let me
so
ask you a question. Why is it such a huge number for women in the state of Oklahoma? And honestly, I have not even heard that. I don't know.
yeah,
I've never seen that statistic or even heard of anywhere in my lifetime of watching news programs that that is going
mhm.
on. So I'm so sorry to hear that. But why do you think that that is the cause?
There's a number of factors. I think it's part of this whole issue of misdemeanor versus felony. So there are issues where you get more time based off of a misdemeanor. And so we with this last election, um, those were kind of up for discussion and up for voting to change the misdemeanor levels. And so, honestly, I'm really not even totally sure because, and that's one of the things that and I say we as a state are trying to figure out. We have different programs. There's a couple of programs that I know of that's called Women in Recovery, and then there's another one called Just the Beginning that actually are geared towards helping assisting women that are involved in the criminal justice system and helping them kind of reach this place of purpose and making sure they once they are in the system, instead of going to prison, it's an alternative to going to prison. So we have those different programs that assist in those different areas because if you look at it, women's needs are totally different from men's needs. And so you can't look at a man and a woman within a criminal justice system or just in general and say, we're going to have this cookie cutter program and it's going to serve the needs of men and women. It doesn't work like that. And so when you're looking at the different aspects of programs, number one, the money is just not there. We've had different programs that have closed to assist with the mental health issue. And then, we've had just different programs where the money is just not there to assist. A lot of times too, the women are, 9 times out of 10, if they go where there's an involvement with the guy, with the man. And, for whatever reason, the girl gets arrested, the girl's holding drugs or holding, something, and they get arrested as well. For nonviolent offenders. They're nonviolent offenders, and we are still trying to figure out why that is. Why is Oklahoma the number one state or the number one area where
Right.
women are incarcerated the most? So we're
You,
still trying to figure that out.
well, you know what? I really wish that you were on the podcast with me and Lee Jr., who's a transformational speaker. And one of the
Oh,
things we got fired up about was that he had said this one thing that test scores. The reason why he got into transformational speaking because he was living in a broken situation, broken home, feeling abandoned. And when he became a speaker, one of the things he realized is that there was an article out there that someone had written where they said that if children who are in the third grade who cannot read, they are
Yes.
building jails. They are building jails because they
Exactly.
feel like that you're not going to be anything. And girl, let me tell you, I literally went off on this podcast because I
That is
feel
that's
that we have to do a better job of being responsible for ourselves to support our children so that we do not end up in situations where you're going to jail because you have drugs in your pocket or you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I get fired up about it because it's one of those things that is so preventable. And when you're telling me, literally telling me there are thousands of women just sitting behind bars for little to big reasons. Some of those reasons are preventable. And it sounds to me that maybe there's some economic issues, that there's some other type of factors that could be causing women to, because they're all trying to reach for something, and we have to come up with some type of avenue or some method that will give these people some type of support so we can stop having the number one women correct. I mean, I can't even say it. I'm just I can't even say it.
I know that it's the state where we incarcerate the number
Yes.
one incarceration rate.
Yes, I can't even say it. It's just so unfortunate, and it's too much resources out here for them to be in jail. And I know that what I'm saying is not really going to change much, but it can if we just provide that service. And when people say, "Oh, we don't have the money," or "We don't have this, we don't have that," yes, we do. The country has billions of dollars. We have people in all sorts of resources, and so it just kind of kills me when I hear stuff like that, and I feel so heartfelt. I wish I can, if I had the power, I would definitely would try to do something, and I'm hoping when if somebody hears this podcast that they will reach out to us and help us do something.
Right. And that's true. Sometimes it can be preventable. And then, yes, like you said, some people are sometimes just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yes, we do, even when I had my caseload and, I would have some people that have been arrested on my caseload. And, this whole comment of, well, these officers are always messing with me. They're always doing this. My thing is, okay, well, you're riding around at 2 o'clock in the morning with your music blaring, smoking weed in the car. So you're bringing attention to yourself, and I totally agree that yes, we have to take on our own a personal responsibility. However, there is still another side where even if we take the responsibility, the system itself is just not a good system. The system has been created to do exactly what it's doing right now, and that is to incarcerate minorities, that's to incarcerate, non-violent offenders, and so that's what it was designed to do for whatever reason. And in order to actually change what is going on, we have to change the actual system. But we have to understand what it is first and understand what it does to change it.
Yeah, and this reminds me, I had went to a nonprofit event where they had showed a video. What the name of the video was called Incarcerating the US. And that video was so, I don't even know. I don't even have the right word for it. It was astounding because it was talking about just what you were saying, where they had the people who actually wrote the legislation for the different incarceration types,
Yes,
offenders, non-offenders. Why did they write? Why did they write it that way? What was the reason? Now they regret it. They wish they could change it, but now they can't change it. And then they also interviewed some of the people who were wrongfully jailed for a long period of time and ended up spending 10, sometimes 20 years before they were
yes,
actually released. But then they pretty much lost 20 years of their life. for
Right.
something as being pulled over and was in a holding cell, or one lady who was abused, and
Right.
or her husband had did something and they arrested her, but then they kept her in jail because she just happened to be married to the guy, which she had nothing
Right.
to do with. It's those types of things that now all of a sudden you regret that you wrote the law that way. Um,
Right.
and I'm gonna find the link to that movie, which is called "Incarcerating the U.S." And I encourage everyone to please look at that video. Seriously, look at that video. Um, is one of those things where I'm glad that I kind of went to see that, because I had no idea it was going to have that type of effect on me, and it also put me in a different headspace. When I look at my boys every day, I make sure that they know their surroundings, that they don't bring attention to themselves, as you said, because you just never know. And with all the violence that's been happening in the last 2 years, it's just
Right.
really been scary, because you can literally walk outside and try to go to work, and next thing you know, you're in jail. That's
Right.
the way
Right.
and it doesn't matter if you're black or white or whatever. You could either be in jail, or you could be roughed up, or you could be dead. So those are
Right.
the three things. It used to be, okay, I'm gonna go outside and hope I don't get in a car accident, or hope I don't get run over by a car. Now it's pretty much, I hope I don't go to jail.
Absolutely. Or right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. And it's unfortunate. But that's why we definitely have to stay informed and stay woke, like like we're saying right now. Just staying informed and keeping ourselves informed, and keeping ourselves educated, and educating others, and having these forums like this, that gets information out. Just and accountability, holding each other accountable. Just those are things that can definitely help out, and that's when we talk about small businesses. That's where we can increase that accountability and the self sufficiency that people are looking for. That's what people are really wanting, is that being able to, like I said, take care of their families. And people want to abide by the law for the most part. I think if you are a citizen, or if you're a law abiding citizen, you want to abide by the law. You just do. But there are circumstances that you can see and say, you know what, I can understand why somebody would go commit a crime, because they may, because the economic issue, the low income things that are going on. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. It's not just one factor. There's a lot of factors that go into why people even commit crimes.
Wow. Okay. All right. My mind is still thinking. I'm stuck there, girl. I'm stuck. I am still stuck on that fact, because everybody needs to understand that, and that's where I come in terms of just pushing into people's head that you have to make sure that you know where you're going in your life, know what you want to do, hang around the right people, tighten
Really,
that circle up,
definitely.
tighten your circle, because I call it the circle of three. It should just be you and your immediate family. Your second circle should be maybe your closest relative, and everybody is a distant third. Make sure that you are making sure that you have a good support system, and definitely
Right.
build a career, and I'm going to call it a life career roadmap, so that you
Yes.
have a focus or a goal or mission to get to your purpose. Because the moment that you stray away because you feel stressed out, or you have to make a quick haste decision, that's when we fall off the wagon. That's when we
Right.
start making mistakes. And this community that we're building, you have over 50 some odd people on this platform that you can call and you can reach out to. And if you need help, we have, I don't know how many, Leowana, we have five or six motivational. We have one person who's a focus national. He called it focus national. I think he calls it that. Um, which gets into your brain about what you're designed to be. I'm just saying, there's too many resources out here for us to feel like that we have no way out and no options.
Yeah.
No
Yes.
options. We have, and I think you're like the sixth career development person on this podcast, and I did that on purpose because I want people to see that you can make a way out of no way, and you don't have to live in the situation that you in. There are always options. There's always somebody who done it and been there before you. There's always someone who has an answer, and we just need to seek it. It's here on this platform, and everybody on this platform have other platforms that has resources. So it's not just this platform. We have all the other platforms. So,
Right.
Dewana, let's talk about your platform. What else are you doing? And
Oh,
what else are you doing that's spreading the word about criminal justice?
yes. So right now, as you said in my bio, I am a training specialist for a company here in Tulsa, and that's what I do. I have the opportunity and the privilege of assisting in the development of people in regards to leadership, in regards to understanding their purpose, just developing people to be able to be a more effective leader. And that's what I do. My life purpose is to enlighten, encourage, and empower others to live to their fullest potential. And that's what I do on a daily basis, whether it's through social media, whether I'm enlightening, encouraging, and empowering my children. I also teach, just different discipleship classes, at church. So there's a lot of things that I do, HR development, career development, and just really helping people just reach their full potential, letting them know that you have potential, letting people know that you have purpose and that you are a leader, whether or not you have a leadership title or not. You are still a leader because you have someone that's always following you. And so I look at, if people really understood different leadership skills, then they would operate totally different. And so that's just what I help to inspire people, and I help to enlighten them and really encourage people. My life hasn't been perfect, but I've come through some issues. And so definitely living a life of resilience is something that I'm very familiar with. And so I also talk about, being the resilient leader and what that looks like. So I do a lot of, volunteer work in the community. Education is a huge, huge passion of mine. And so I just really want people to live to their fullest potential, find the purpose. So, yeah, that's what I do.
So that is fabulous. So to tie this up in a bow, what do you need from the people who are listening to this podcast or who are participating in this podcast? What do you need to thrive and to help further your cause?
What do I need? Um, I just want people to, just to understand that I'm here to help. I would probably just need people to, kind of reach out or give me the opportunity to reach out to them, to network, having those networking opportunities. I would definitely, just probably need relationships and accountability. A lot of people would say, well, I need money. Well, that comes because I think when people are drawn to what you have, then that definitely will come. But I really value relationships, and so I would say that I would need quality relationships and accountability in order to thrive.
Fantastic. And so everybody, you heard it here. She needs your cooperation. A lot of these folks, we need people that's going to come out and help make decisions. We need people who's going to be proactive to help us thrive in our efforts as a small business to provide services. And that's what we're doing as far as building a community of resources, because we have to get up and stand up and actually serve the people who are our customers. And we can be each other's customers if we just stand up and do that. So I'm encouraging everyone to please take a moment and listen to all the podcasts podcast and go to all the pages, reach out to people, ask your questions, communicate, collaborate, patron small businesses, support the authors that are having their publications on this platform. And so, with that, I want to thank you, Leowana, for being on here and definitely getting us fired up about criminal justice. And this is not the end of it. We're definitely going to
Absolutely.
continue this conversation. And also, we need to come together, as I said, to come up with some type of way to help these people in Oklahoma, because we should not be having the number one incarceration rate anywhere, anywhere.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
the United States is the richest and greatest place to live. However, we can't be great if more than half of us are in some type of holding facility for something as simple or not as simple. So,
Wow.
together and let's communicate, collaborate, and patron. And thank you guys so very much for listening.
Absolutely.